Today's episode of Lifestyles of Celebrity Pets is brought to you by Richie Schwartz's Pets Photography Studio. Picture perfect pets every time.
Do you want this on camera or no? Okay, you don't want me looking there? Hi.
My name is Nikki Mustaki. I'm a dog trainer and pet expert from Miami Beach, Florida. I also spend a lot of time in New York City. I train dogs, I write about dogs, and basically my entire world is doing things with pets and animals.
I was always the kid in the neighborhood that brought home every stray animal. Stray dogs, whether they belonged to somebody or not, I brought them home. The stray kittens. I was the kid who would go to the pet store and beg my parents for hamsters and gerbils and rabbits and all kinds of things. I just always loved pets. I had fish, I had a turkey, I had snakes, I had basically you name it, I've had it.
Animals was an avocation for me. It was a hobby, and it's basically turned into a vocation. So I've been able to marry my education with my hobby and come up with a really great life where I get to spend a lot of time with animals, and it's something I've always wanted to do. This is my Martin 12-string guitar. It was a very ambitious purchase considering I'm not a very good guitar player, although I do enjoy it. I recently came out with some music for dogs to prevent them from barking so much. So if you have an alarm barker or you have a yipper yapper kind of dog that is triggered by sounds in the neighborhood, you would play this music. It's called Training Tracks, a musical no-bark solution. And I actually chose the blues for this instead of, let's say, new age music or classical, which is typical. Blues is a down-tempo genre with low frequencies.
It's like butter.
And what I did was I layered the songs with brown noise, which is white noise at a lower frequency, and with a heartbeat. And then I put a top layer on top of the music of sounds that I call none of your business sounds, which are sounds of like typing and toilet flushing, water running, and things like that, that have nothing to do with your dog, but that make your dog feel comfortable, feel like there's something regular going on in the household. The idea behind the training tracks is to create an alternate soundtrack for your dog's day. So instead of your dog listening to the TV where maybe there are other barking dogs or there are sounds that trigger your dog to bark, or instead of listening to the neighbors, kids yelling maybe, or dogs barking outside, which create barking at your dog, you would put on the training tracks and your dog would listen to that all day instead. It has a calming effect, and it's also kind of pleasant to listen to yourself, so you can play it while you're home as well. What else is on our list? How about stuff about dog training? Part of what I do in my training practice is help owners understand how to have their dogs in a city environment. I started most of my training in New York City, so I dedicated myself to training the city dog. So training is more than just sit and stay, and people have to understand that training a dog is a lifestyle. It's living with the animal, it's behaving in a certain way consistently every single day with the animal, to have the animal understand what it is to live in a household, what it is to be in a human world, and engage in the environment in which it's placed. And it's different for every animal. I might get a call for a house training issue from a pug, for example, and a very similar call, similar house training issue from a Great Dane. And even though they're two dissimilar breeds, the house training issue might be exactly the same. Or I may get a house training call from two Weimaraners, which is the same breed, but I go into the household and things are so different in each household that I have to come up with a completely different protocol. Training is not a one-size-fits-all for every dog. You can't just call yourself a dog trainer. You have to understand how to go in and how to deal with each dog as an individual, how to deal with each family as an individual, and be able to go in and read the signs and see what's going on in the environment to be able to help that family deal with the problems that they have with their dog.
Dear Darlene's Pet Travel Tips are brought to you by Pet Airways, the perfect form of travel for your best friend.
If you're a pet owner, you know how flying can be a rough experience for your dog or cat. On Human Airlines, your furry best friend is treated no better than a suitcase, getting stowed away in the uncomfortable and frightening confines of the plane's cargo hold. Introducing Pet Airways, the world's first airline exclusively dedicated to the safe and comfortable transportation of pets. At Pet Airways, pets fly in the main cabin, not in cargo. We believe our pets are not luggage, they're passengers. On Pet Airways, your best friend travels in four-legged style in the main cabin, constantly monitored by a pet attendant with the temperature just right and with lots of fresh circulating air. Your pet arrives happy and well cared for, and with a lot less stress for both you and your pet. We should all be so lucky. Pet Airways, the perfect form of travel for your best friend. Visit us online at petairways.com.
This is Pepper. Pepper's 13 years old right now, and I met him at a small, dark, lonely little shelter in the middle of Indiana, really in the middle of nowhere. I was living in a small town at the time, and I really wanted a dog. And I didn't know much about dogs at the time. This was about 12 years ago. I was very into birds at the time, but not so much into dogs. And my entire requirement for a dog was that I wanted one that would look good in a sweater. I mean, that was really, it's not the best way to pick your new best friend, but that's what I wanted. He's been on set a bunch. He's been around the world with me. He's been to Europe. But Zoe, the one who's growling right now, it's okay, Zoe. I just got her 3 months ago from the shelter. She was on death row, and she's never been on set. She's never seen a camera. She's never seen a microphone. So she's terrified. But you know, this is a good experience for her. Pearl, I've retired Pepper actually from doing TV stuff with me. Pearl's my new TV dog, and she is like just took to it perfectly. She does everything she's asked to do. I mean, and Pepper is like trained on a dime. You know, he's like a robot. I can get him to do anything, and Pearl is starting to get like that too.
Pearl's a rescue dog, and I got her from Miami-Dade Animal Services, where I also pull dogs for various rescues. Basically, what people do is they say to me, I want, you know, a cute little fluffy dog, or I want a Maltese, or I want a Schnauzer, and I go to the shelter and I find them that kind of dog. And this isn't a really typical way of doing rescue, but I find that it's very effective because I have an end home already from the start.
So in 2008, for our 10-year anniversary, I took Pepper to Paris. And that's kind of my story. I just really wanted to go to Paris. And I wanted to take my dog because, of course, Paris is very known for being very dog friendly. And what we did was we actually took the Queen Mary to Paris, and Pepper got to go with me, and that was the most fun. And even though we weren't allowed to stay together, there's a kennel for the dogs. They treat them like first-class passengers, and the captain even acknowledges them in his speeches that he makes, and it was really fun. So we got to Germany, actually, and we took a road trip through Germany to Paris, and I ended up spending the rest of the summer in Paris. And I had a photographer with me, and we took 6,000 photographs of this dog, literally 6,000 photographs all over Paris, sometimes 12-hour days taking pictures of little Pepper. And the photos we got were unbelievable. I mean, really artistic, beautiful photos. The guy who was with me, the photographer, a friend of mine, shoots for the UN and for Getty and these really kind of big, famous photo outlets. And he was there taking pictures of his dog. And he was kind of weird about it at first, but then by the end, he kind of got it, and it sunk in like how cool this project was. So my point in going there was to do this Pepper in Paris kind of photo shoot, and it was a huge success, and we had so much fun. And the dogs are allowed to go anywhere you go in Paris, so we were able to go to cafes, restaurants, you know, in stores, all kinds of places that dogs are not allowed here. And Pepper had a wonderful time, and he's a spoiled doggy, and as well he should be. So one of the funniest things that happened to us in Europe, especially in Germany, it happened in Paris as well, was people would come up to me and they kept saying, how old is he? And they would look at me really quizzically and say, how old is he? And I just thought, this is the weirdest question. Why are people coming up and asking how old is he? Here in the States, people come up and they say, what kind is he? Or is it a boy or a girl? Or what's his name? We don't get how old is he. So I couldn't figure it out. And it took me weeks to actually figure out that they were very curious about his age because they have a cropping and docking law in Europe. So they don't crop the ears and they don't dock the tail. And Pepper, of course, came like this from the shelter. His ears are cropped and his tail is docked. So people kept saying, like, how old is he? Because he would have had to have been pre-1992 in order to look like this and be a European dog, which means he would have been like 20 years old. So that is, people were really curious. So the look on their faces, I could understand. They were coming up going like, is this a 20-year-old dog? You know, that's strange. So no, he's not a 20-year-old dog. He's just American. So they would say, how old is he? And they would ask a few questions and they would say, oh, American? And I would say yes, and they would say, oh, okay, and they'd walk away. So I don't know if we're savages or something that we still do this to our animals, but you know, I thought it was one of the most curious things that happened to us in Europe. I came up with the idea for the Pet Postcard Project in 2007 when I wanted to help a local animal shelter here in Miami Beach, Florida. And I'm not good at asking people for money, so I thought, what's a way that I can get people to kind of participate and help without putting their hand in their pocket? Instead of people sending money to a charity, what they do is they make homemade postcards and they send them to me. They are funny, they're heartwarming, they're sentimental, they're beautiful, they're like little works of art, and I literally get thousands of these a month, featuring people's dogs and cats. Pet Postcard Project also helps cats. And people take photos of their dogs and they scrapbook and they basically make little works of art with captions, and they send them in, and for each one I receive, a pet food company will donate a pound of food or a meal of food to a shelter that I designate, and the shelter changes every month. Another cool thing about the Pet Postcard Project is that there are prizes every single month. So there's about $1,000 of prizes every single month, dozens of prizes, so many people get the opportunity to win, and they don't do it for the prizes, but the prizes are definitely a nice incentive. It makes it even more fun to participate. And I know that people really like seeing their dogs on the website. People can go to petpostcardproject.com, and I scan every postcard that comes in. I have volunteers that help me post the cards, and people get really thrilled when they see their dogs and their cats on the front page. So it's a lot of fun.